Good morning and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And we have on the line with us this morning Dr. Rahanna Juman, who is the Deputy Director of the Institute of Marine Affairs. And she's going to talk with us, continuing the conversation concerning the Buccoo Reef Marine Park management and actions going forward. Good morning, Doctor.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Mom.
Good morning, Doctor. So we want to continue the conversations, but with you, we want to zone in on focusing on the environmental sensitivities and considerations of the Buccoo Reef Marine Park. And we just want to get from you why the ecosystems within the marine park are important and why the protection of the marine park is important.
So I should start. Morning, everybody again. Since 1967, famous scientist Thomas Guru did an assessment and said that this marine park or this area was so ecologically diverse and important, and he recommended it be declared a marine protected area. Scientists came in from FAO and they made the same recommendations, and that's why the Buccoo Reef Marine Park was designated the only marine protected area to date under legislation. That's the Marine Preservation and Enhancement Act of 1970, and the park was declared protected in 1973. The Buccoo Reef Marine Park remains the only area today in Trinidad and Tobago where we have extensive mangrove forests, seagrass beds, and coral reef in close proximity. We had similar type of system in Kilgwin, but we've lost the seagrasses. Similarly, in Petitru, we have lost the seagrasses. The only extensive Thalassia, which is turtlegrass, dominated seagrass community in Trinidad and Tobago remaining is in the Buccoo Reef Marine Park. This area is quite diverse. It supports a diversity of organisms, over 200 species of fish, corals, invertebrates, many that are commercially important. So much so that we were able to have this area declared a wetland of international importance back in 2005. It's a Ramsar site. And the reason for that is because, again, of these sensitive ecosystems, but also to their habitat for species that are considered vulnerable or endangered, like sea turtles, green turtles, hawksbill turtles, vulnerable species like the queen triggerfish, the Nassau grouper, the lemon shark. All these species live within that marine park, and therefore, it has that importance.
So, Dr. Juman, many people might be wondering, why preserve these endangered species? What benefit would it be to us to really preserve these endangered species?
Well, they all species contribute to the whole food chain, the whole, ecosystem, the ecology of the ecosystem. And when you have a species that is no longer there, there's also the impact from that species not being there, because it part of that community and makes a contribution to that community. So it's important that we try to preserve some of these, and also to improve our biodiversity, because the more biodiverse an ecosystem, the more resilient it tends to be to impacts from climate change.
All right, Doctor. And do you think that we currently have enough or stringent enough regulations and policies in place to protect our park?
So, we've had the legislation since 1970, since declared in 1973. We've had a management plan that has been developed for the park since 1995. We've also had now a draft marine parks bill. So there is some legislation. There is enough legislation to actually protect the park. The problem is enforcement and implementation.
All right. As
we
you
need to improve enforcement and
need to improve enforcement and was the last one you said?
Implementation. In terms of our policies and so forth.
Right, and that would be for not just users, but also for fisher folk, locals as well?
Yes. So one of the things we have to take into consideration is that even impacts on the park wouldn't be just people that use the park, present in the park. There's also impacts from the surrounding areas. One of the biggest problems we have seen in the Buccoo Reef Marine Park over the years is pollution from land-based sources coming in from the surrounding communities. that is something that we have to address because that's something that's under our control. While we cannot change, things like elevated sea surface temperature that cause massive coral bleaching, we don't have control over that. We have control over what flows into our marine park from the land side. So we also have an integrated coastal zone management policy that speaks about addressing land-based sources of pollution. There's been a lot of studies that have been done over the years. We know we need to fix that. We need to address that, reduce the pollution that's entering the park as well, so that we could build its resilience, the ecosystem resilience, so that when we have a hazard or some kind of event like a coral bleaching event or storm event, they're more able to bounce back after that event because they're more resilient.
Do we currently have any statistics on how extensive this land-based pollution is right now?
Yes, we do. We've been monitoring. IMA has been monitoring the park for more than 20 years in terms of water quality. There's been a number of studies that has been done over the years. So we know where the pollution is coming from. We know what the pollutants are, right? And, people would have said, we would have had discussion in the past about seagrasses growing into Nile and pool. And that's probably a result of the pollution that's entering the park. Closer to the mangrove where they enter the park, the pollutant enter the park, a lot of these seagrasses have been overgrown by macroalgae, right? But the seagrass bed have now extended further from where it used to be, right? So, that could be a consequence of pollution. So, yes, we know we've been studying the problem for many, many years. We just need to now, start implementing solutions.
Dr. Juman, I was about to bring up this same issue with you because I remember as even a student in secondary school doing my studies, this was an issue, and that was over 20 years ago. So it's a long-standing issue, land-based pollutants. And I just want to know, in terms of educating the public, those in the surrounding areas, about land-based pollutants and its effects on the marine park. Do you all have any sort of public education campaign going on? And if yes, what is the feedback from the general public?
So right now, IMA is executing a project called the Marine Resilience Initiative, where we're rehabilitating degraded coral reefs and seagrass beds, but also a big part of it is building this marine resilience network, basically a community of practice, people becoming trained and engaged in actual conservation of the marine environment. So through that network, we have been executing a number of what we call CAP surveys, knowledge, aptitude practices, and speaking to stakeholders throughout Tobago. And many of them recognize and have identified pollution as a major issue for years. So they know it's there, but we need to now take it to the next level where we try to reduce, mitigate, and build resilience, as I say, of our coastal ecosystems. There's certain things that we can do and certain things we have no control over. So once we build the resilience and the strength of these ecosystems, they're more likely to bounce back after some sort of event.
And you stated in terms of ramping up efforts. So what are the timelines you're looking at in terms of implementation of these increased efforts?
Well, as soon as our ecosystems are under stress. Last year, we had one of the worst coral bleaching events ever, right? We had a lot of coral mortality. Right now, we're basically looking out for the stony coral tissue loss disease, which is a disease that has been decimating reef in the Northern Caribbean. Luckily, we haven't recorded it yet in Tobago, but it basically destroys hard coral, and it's like us, when you're sick or your body's stressed, you're more likely to pick up an infection or get sick, right? So if we boost these corals by removing the things that we could control, then they're likely to bounce back after an event. They're more resilient or more resistant to infections and that sort of stuff. And that's basically what we're saying. Let us remove the impacts that we can remove, build their health, make them healthier, so when events that we have no control occur, they're able to bounce back quicker.
Right. And Dr. Juman, what are some of the proven long-term benefits of having these regulations implemented, and also the education drive as well implemented out there? What are some of the long-term benefits we will see in the environment?
So before we go, I just wanted to add, so one of the things that has been very popular in recent times, or what scientists have recently discovered, is that our ecosystems, like our mangrove forests and our seagrass beds, they're referred to as blue carbon ecosystem. They actually absorb and store more carbon, which is the greenhouse gas that cause climate change, than any other terrestrial ecosystem. And we're currently executing a project where we're actually trying to quantify how much carbon is stored in those ecosystems in Tobago in order for us to participate in blue carbon credit schemes where we can actually trade those carbon credits and get some monetary value that can feed back into the community and feed back into conservation. Right? Part of the project is also rehabilitating the Bonaccord mangrove forest. So the thing about it is we need the legislation to protect these ecosystems. We need the legislation to, and what we're doing basically is we're regulating human use of the environment so that the environment can continue to sustain use, right? And that's where the regulation is important. But as you rightfully say, most importantly is the public education and awareness, But I think they have to work hand in hand, because I can tell you for more than 30 or 40 years, IMA has been putting out a lot of public education, out there, going to schools and educating folks and so on. But I think we need not only the public education, but the enforcement as well. They work hand in hand to help us manage our ecosystem.
And Doc, as an average citizen, just a Tobagonian, tell me, how would you advise me that I could contribute to protecting our marine parks on a regular day, on a regular basis? What can I do to make our tomorrow better?
So what I would say is that if you live in the vicinity of the park, know where your waste is going, right? Your runoff from your sewer, from your pipes and so forth. Make sure it's not going directly into the drains that flow into the Bonaccord Lagoon. Know where your garbage is going, solid waste, plastics, all those kind of things. Just be cognizant of where things are. Build your education and your awareness, and when you go to utilize the park, make sure you don't leave anything. People leave their garbage. It's a big problem in there. When they go to use Island Pool and no man's land, you see all the garbage in the mangrove on the other side by Gibson's Jetty. Remove everything you take into the park, all your litter, all your waste, right? But that's it. Do not take out anything else. Do not take out the corals. Try not to damage the corals. Be cognizant of the seagrasses. They have a very, very important role. So you really don't want to destroy these ecosystems. And similarly, in terms of the mangrove, even people who go in to do things like harvesting of crabs and stuff, make sure whatever you're doing is sustainable, that you're not leaving any damage behind. And the intention is that we protect the ecosystem so that they can continue to provide us with all these things that we depend on, the food and the fish and so on. So just make sure your practices are sustainable. If you want to learn, reach out to the IMA, reach out to the THA. We have a lot of education. We have a lot of information we can share with you so that you can make sure that whatever you do is more sustainable. So those are just some of the things. And I think one of the biggest thing I would tell people, appreciate what you have. You have one beautiful ecosystem there. Your mangroves, your seagrasses, your coral reef. It's quite diverse. Your birds, your fish, conch, name it. I remember as a student, I did my PhD work in the Buccoo Lagoon, and I remember seeing seahorses. I mean, that was the most amazing thing to me. Now I'm not seeing them anymore. That's concerning, But now, because of all the seagrasses, we're seeing more sea turtles. That's exciting when you go in there and you see a turtle, Some people will never get to see that in their whole life. You have it there. Appreciate it. Love it. Love your environment. And continue to be engaged in conservation, because your environment is there to protect you and protect your livelihoods.
Dr. Juman, and finally, as you spoke about getting information from IMA and the THA, what sort of collaborations is the IMA having with the Department of Fisheries in terms of coming to realization of the preservation of the marine park?
So the IMA have always had a long-standing relationship with the Tobago House of Assembly and the Department of Marine Resource and Fisheries. Everything we do in Tobago, we do in conjunction with the department, especially in the marine protected area, because we have to get permission to actually do research in the marine protected area according to the Act. So we work closely with the THA. Our monitoring, all our research is done in conjunction with the Tobago House of Assembly. So we continue to work our public outreach and education as well. We work with them. Just last week, we had a community symposium in Charlottesville, coastal conversations that we did in conjunction with the Tobago House of Assembly and that particular, the Marine Resource and Fisheries Department. So yeah, our relationship, we continue to grow that relationship.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rahanna Juman, for joining us for this morning's conversation. And we wish the IMA, Institute of Marine Affairs, all the good luck and success in your goal to protect the Buccoo Reef Marine Park.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, but we need everybody to do it. It's
yes, indeed.
All on board kind of thing.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Juman. Viewers, we have to go for a short break, but when we come back, we continue our conversations. So do us a favor. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back after these messages.